The Deep End with Tresa, Gale, and Bianca, where we are recapturing the forgotten woman.
Hello, audience out there, and welcome into jumping into the deep end, where recapturing the forgotten woman is our mission. And you are talking to Tresa. Ladies, you can introduce yourselves.
Hi
All right.
everyone, I'm Gale. Nice to see you all again, and let's enjoy this beautiful and fantastic show.
Hello, world. You are speaking with Bianca McAtee Thompson, and we are so excited about today's show. So, sit back, relax, and let's get it, y'all. Mwah.
Yes. And now, young men, will you please introduce yourselves?
My name is Visha. Uh, I'm an energetic body worker, and I'm very happy to be here and happy to share with you all and open to speak on whatever it is that we would like to discuss here.
Thank you.
My name is Reuben, also known as Red Nova. Glad to be in the building. I appreciate the opportunity of being here. I love speaking. I will say that. So definitely looking forward to answering some questions, vibing with my peeps, having a good time. Thanks for having me.
And thank you for saying yes, Visha and Reuben. So let's get the show started. My first question, and also I want to let the audience know that if you have any questions, you also can put them in the chat if you're on YouTube. So my first question is, how do you define the divine feminine? And that's a question that I would like both of you to answer.
Make sure you want to go ahead and start off. Let you have it.
Yeah, yeah, I guess I will. Uh, I define the divine feminine as something very necessary, especially right now. Uh, Balance, uh, receiving, loving, caring, nurturing. All the things that's actually missing in society right now is what defines the divine feminine for me. Uh, Health, wealth, love, and the perfect self expression,
Hmm.
the divine feminine. And it's not limited to just female, it's in all of us. And it needs to come forth from all of us. And for me, uh, basically, it's all about just love. It's the divine feminine for me. It's what I see. It's what I like to see in women who are making moves to uplift themselves and others around them. And the males who are strong enough to show some love and caring and some nurturing too. That's the divine feminine coming through to support humanity. And for me, that's how I define the divine feminine.
Okay. I heard a lot of nurturing in there. I heard a lot of, um, yeah, the one thing that women often carry is that nurturing spirit. And I think that that's the foundation of what I heard you talking about in in the way you define the divine feminine. And you said even it could be in men, something that men are missing these days.
Yes, very much, very much. And
Yeah.
it's they the genders are being separated, but the divine feminine and the divine masculine have to be in balance for for anything here to really function properly. And what we see now mostly is kind of masculine dominated, but we do see a rise in the divine feminine coming up to balance it out. Uh, and and I think that's really important. And I watch closely, and that's a strong part of my work is to hold space and try to encourage the divine feminine to come through and take care of yourself. I believe that the divine feminine is about receiving and taking care of yourself as well in order to support uh, the world around you with the
You know,
loving, caring, and nurturing.
yeah, you just dropped a whole lot. I think, Tressa, just like you, what I tapped into, what kind of tapped in my ear was what you said, that is not limited to female. So, and it's so interesting sometimes how, especially as Black men, I think as a whole in general, when they think about feminine energy or the divine feminine, that's something like, oh no, I'm all masculine, I'm all this, where we really, I'm so grateful for you guys to kind of really step up to say, okay, there's a balance here, and it's okay. Like, and it has nothing to do with, to me, what I'm hearing and what I've experienced. It has nothing to do with your sexuality or how you
No,
prefer to actually have sex. It's the energy, tapping into that energy. Um, and I heard the other thing that I heard you say, well, for you, that divine feminine is what's missing in society. And I personally resonate with that because I know for me, for so long, I operated so heavily in my masculine energy, the doing, and not even sometimes being closed off to receiving. Like, no, don't do that for me. I got this. Like, I can do this. So I appreciate all of that. And I think the more we understand that, that would help us get to the balance. Um, and I think that's how we are kind of like in this masculine dominated energy, because especially I think as Black women, I know for me personally, I've been so caught up in the doing, and really kind of just really ignorant to the fact that I was out of balance, thinking that, oh no, I'm doing this and I'm doing this, so that makes me a woman or that makes me feminine, because it's all about the doing, which is I was so off the mark. So it's humbling, and then it's for me, it's been like, okay, sit back and be still sometimes and let others do for you. And then also, I think what I heard you say was um taking care of ourselves. Oh, like really taking care of ourselves. And how I see it now is that I really have to take care of me first before I can do anything for anybody else. It is like my number one priority nowadays. So I'm getting okay with saying no, and not feeling guilty about it. So there's so much here to unpack. So thank you for that. I'm pretty sure we're gonna dive in deeper with as the conversation flows, but definitely I it hits home with me, what you said. So thank you.
self love. Self love is being able to receive.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
if you gotta love yourself enough to do what needs to be done for you,
Hmm.
you know, if you love anything more than you love yourself, you need to get rid of that something.
Man, and we've held on to that. Oh, you've seen the post before. Oh, I love my child more than anything in this world. No, you need to love you first, and then the other people come. So we've had it
Hmm.
like kind of twisted for so long, and I feel like we get tapped into these little memes, like, oh yeah, you know. So yeah, you're right. Definitely, that self love is receiving. So I'm getting better. I'm getting much better at receiving, and and um I try to make sure that I'm in deep gratitude when it does come, and it's like letting people help me. Yeah, I had to take a deep breath. Like, it is okay for people to help me, and I think that's a part of my just receiving, that I don't have to do everything. So yes.
Thank you. And now Reuben, because I do have some more energy toward the answer that Visha gave, but I do want to give you an opportunity to talk about your idea of the Man, it makes me want to ask about the divine masculine now. But come on with
Please. That's the next question.
Come
You know,
on, Reuben.
Tresta, we here, boo.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Because I got something to say
most
too. I have something
definitely.
to say too.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
most definitely, most definitely. So, as my brother had said before, he spoke on a lot, so he was very informative with it. Like he really laid the lines to what divine feminine is. So I can only like pretty much just like give the exact same description that he gave, because I look at it as a phenomenal light when it's dark, the sweet when things are bitter, you know what I'm saying? The salt when everything is a little bit too sweet, the everything bagel type of deal, if you feel me on that one. So when I define it, I mean, it's the piece that has been missing. It's that inner guidance, that intuition, learning how to receive that self-love, that self-care, that whole ordeal pertaining to self. And I really push that a lot, with myself and others, that balance. Balance is key. So it brings balance. And that's what I love most about it. It's not always easy, but looking at it from, that side, it is something that we all, what I'm saying, we all need to take, part in developing, ourselves, self-growth and, awareness, being able to be, more receptive, even a little passive in there, because we're in action so much. When you guys get into the divine masculine, we're going to come back to this. So
okay.
being a little passive as well, spoiling yourself, treating yourself, loving yourself, making it a daily thing. So, that right there is like it's all love.
Wow. Okay. So I love it. Like, I love what Reuben had to say, and Gail jumped right in. We can talk, but
Uh, Reuben, because I'm trying to be a good little girl. Okay, so Reuben, I
Yes,
loved
ma'am.
when
Yes,
you
ma'am.
said the peacefulness. I love the light and the dark. It's like the give and the take. And I have often likened the divine feminine with you can't have the sweetness of the honey without the sting of the bee. They walk
Mm-hmm.
together. They are not one is more so important than the other. And learning to accept because sometimes we are of a mindset that we don't need anybody else,
Mm-hmm.
and especially women, because so much has been heaped up on us that we just pick up the load and continue to carry it until we stop and say, you know what, I can't carry this anymore and I need help. And to be able to say that I need help, that's a form of self care, self help,
Mm-hmm.
and self
yes,
gratitude.
yes.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
standing there and saying that I need it and to be able to be secure in yourself because sometimes I have found that men don't like acknowledging, some men don't like acknowledging the feminine side of them.
Mm-hmm.
There are some things that have been assigned that women do better, but there's an aspect in most men that could be likened to somewhat feminine. And
Mm-hmm.
then if they get a whiff of it being soft or sweet or delicate or dainty, they shy away from it and they don't
Mm-hmm.
wish to explore that side of themselves. But it's
Mm-hmm.
there because for me, I have a masculine part of myself. I don't like pulling it out. I
Mm-hmm.
love being a woman and I love allowing things to flow as they should. But if by chance I have to step up, I have no problem doing it. But I acknowledge that it is there. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
I was just making a point. That's all.
Yeah,
I
and
love
it
it.
reminds me of when you said that I wrote something about excuse me, men the same way they kind of when they need to get in touch with their divine feminine self, they kind of do what Bianca talked about. She do. I got this. When actually we all can use tap into
Mm-hmm.
either side of ourselves to get the balance, and I think that's where issue started from the beginning. Both sides are necessary. Excuse me. And where we got lost, even in, and I don't want to use the word religion, but maybe even in spirituality to some degree, but maybe more religion. When you think about it, they talked
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
God. But what happened to the divine mother? What happened
Mm-hmm.
to that? It was
Hmm.
this masculine God, and what happened to the counterpart? She got left out. So, hi, Darwin. Can you hear us?
There you go.
What's good, bro?
I can hear you.
Good. So we're just kind of, you can jump right in talking about the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And then we're going to, transition to another question. But, this has kind of gotten really good when we're talking about how we define it and how we've seen ourselves as women or men on either side, without that balance.
You
So,
trust it. Well, Gale said something, and it made me think about how, I think you said something about doing too much. And I think that when we operate on one side too much, I truly believe that's how illnesses come into play. Especially for women with the fibroids, and even I had to look closer at myself with vertigo and what that really meant on the emotional metaphysical side. I was like, okay, what is going on? And it what popped for me and what I saw was change, like being okay with the change, like not trying to control everything, because with vertigo, you kind of lose control. You just like, you at the mercy until your head stops spinning. So I think that too, once we as a whole,
The balance is off. The balance is off.
yes, that's what, and it's taken me it's taking the time that is needed for me to just realize how deeply I need to work on being grounded constantly, and not and being in balance, and not just doing. But I think that once we really kind of tap into getting that balance, we will see some of these illnesses kind of come down. There's so many of us that are suffering for things that I think that it is part and due to our emotions and our metaphysical bodies, ourselves not being in alignment. So yeah, this is a much needed conversation, because them pills from the doctor can't fix everything.
no.
Exactly.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I would like to say something on that. What happens is when women take on a male posture energetically, then you start burning up your water. And when you start burning up your water, you start drying yourself out. You're not juicy no more. You're
That's on a
left
lot of
brain,
levels.
analytical, thinking too much. When by nature's design, your right brain, intuitive, just know stuff, you know, loving, caring, nurturing, right brain. But then you strive to compete in what appears to be a male dominated society, and you burn yourself up. And then you start to get all of these female problems. And then you go to a male doctor or whatever that don't know anything but to give you a pill, like the lady just said, just give you a pill and send you on your way. And then they run 100 tests a year, pretending to be looking for ways to help women when they're only looking for ways to make you feel a little bit more less than. You got all of these problems, which is what they've been doing for so long to make you question who you are. That's why I speak on perfect self expression so much when I talk about divine feminine. That means you're okay with who you are. You're
Woo, come
okay with
on.
who you are. You can work with yourself. You practice healing yourself. You practice self care. And that's very, 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 very important, because I believe that without the rise and balancing out with the divine feminine and the divine masculine, that we just keep spiraling down as a species right now. And my teacher always taught me that uh, so much information about humanity is stored in our DNA.
Yes.
But he believes it takes a woman to really go in and get that. And it takes a divine masculine to hold the space for her to go in and retrieve this beautiful information and bring it back. and share it with the doer, divine masculine, so he can go out and handle it and make it right. Share it with the world or whatever. But most men cannot hold the space for you to be secure enough to feel safe enough to go in and get that information. And I'm talking about along the lines of the work that we do as they'll call it tantra and all that. It's none of that to me. It's just holding space, you know, for a woman to go in deep enough to experience herself on a level where she bypasses what everybody's chasing right now, the energy orgasm and all of that. After all that's over, then that's when the real healing starts. And you go into a place that's so deep, until there's a strong possibility that you can bring back this information through visions or just experiencing yourself on such a deep level. So, you know, I love that divine feminine. And I also don't have a problem stepping into my divine feminine. I used to be like the guys that you were talking about, but I understand there's absolutely nothing gay about me being loving, caring, and nurturing. I can hold a space for a male. I can step into my feminine energy and give a male the most mind blowing session he's ever had. And there's nothing to it except I'm holding space for him. And then I can step into my masculine and hold space for a female. But sometimes that female needs another female holding space first until she feels comfortable enough for my masculine energy to come in. So I feel skilled enough to go in. If you need a sister's touch first, I can give you that. And when you feel comfortable enough, I can slowly bring the masculine in and hold the space for you and balance out the polarity.
And what's
So
so
what
interesting? Oh, go ahead, Tressa.
No, I was just gonna say.
Oh,
So what I
okay.
hear, what I hear is being said is that a man is holding space for women to learn to turn back inward and tap into their intuition and begin to truly just move in that space.
Yes.
Now, and so with that being said, we're gonna transition just a little bit because I know that Darwin, you have, I want to hear your take on the divine feminine. There's a lot that's been said, and see, and you and Reuben, I don't know about Vishu, but I know Vishu, I know that you and Reuben are married, and um so in terms of relationships in that way, in marriage and all of that stuff, um how do you guys define it? I don't want to say define it, you've already defined it, but see it working in balance, if it's working in balance, because I think whether you're single or married, Vishu has really made a good point, but I
Yeah.
think
I'm, I'm,
sometimes
I'm, I'm not married.
right, and I think some of the married couples out there can, like, well, how does this work? And so I'm gonna start with Darwin, and then you, Reuben. I want to hear a little
Okay.
bit about this.
Yeah, I definitely love what Brother Vishu just shared in reference to the men holding space for the women, so they can tap into more of their divine feminine, um, them feeling more comfortable to be in trance state and being able to bring back those divine thoughts and sharing it with the community, sharing with the men. Um, and what's been said about the duality and balance. Like I said, there is the duality and the balance in the divine feminine and the masculine, but there's also the duality within the divine feminine itself. Reference to the nurturing, the caring, but then there's also the the opposite. I think that, like Sister Gale said, the sting, the put your foot in your ass, when need be. That's all part of what needs to be honored, in reference to the divine feminine. I know from my experience as a man in my learning to be more in my divine masculine, I um, I appreciate the parts of me where I can be caring and be nurturing to my children, um, but also understand the where I have to, provide structure, provide instruction, um, as a part of that divine masculine. And that's why the work that I'm doing currently with a group of brothers and priests to help hold retreats with the divine masculine, to share different parts of the aspect of living on this 3D world is important. It's important so they can maneuver out here and be in a space to be able to hold space for the divine feminine. Because we know for a while now the sisters have been doing their sister circles and doing retreats and doing the work. And we want more men to be comfortable and know that men out here are out here with open arms to be able to support them. Because I know as young men, young boys, we were often told to just, shut up and don't cry and don't complain and not really have that space to really express ourselves. But at this point in time, uh, we need to provide spaces where men can do that and get those things cleared out so they can truly stand in our divine masculine. So
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I'm gonna let Reuben speak, and then we can, if anybody has any questions, we can come back because I do have something to what Dawn. Well, let's start with this. I have something to what Dawn said. If anybody else has it, we can start there. Um, I was listening to some of the things, and I thought about a conversation some coworkers was having last night when they were talking about men and what you're talking about. And but not what you're talking about, because in their mind there is no good men. Their thoughts was, here's a conversation someone said, a statement, good luck with that. As if there's no good men out there ever. Like everybody, all these men. And what's odd about that is the fact that when I hear them talking, I know that even their idea of what a good man is still is off. This right here, what you guys are talking about is really, and I don't want to say good versus bad, but is the ideal relationship, first with ourselves and then with each other. When these women are talking about relationship with men, with a good man, and they think there's none out there, they are still lost. They're still looking for them to do something that they're not willing to do for themselves. um, and so it's just interesting to hear how society, include myself for a long time, has just kind of been so off, so off. Even if I would have defined a good man, it would not have been this masculine and feminine, the connection and all of that. And now I realize um, that's really the balance. That's really a healthy relationship within yourself, and then within, um, if you seeing if you're seeing a partner. Um, and the great thing is, there's some women that are maybe dating women or men dating men, and I've heard some of them have some of the same problems, some of the same heart problems that a lot of heterosexual couples are having. And I feel like listening to you all today is just around the board. Where's the balance? Where's the feminine? Where's the masculine? How is it connected in ourselves and our own balance, and then with the person that we're working with? So, Reuben,
Yes,
um,
ma'am.
as a married man, you want to just talk a little bit about that. Now, Vishu was not married, but he gave us some great tools, some great thoughts, some great wisdom. But there may be, again, married couples out there, and they like, how does this apply to me in my, in my
hmm
relationship?
hmm Okay. Yeah, I want to add to well, first, let me go off of a little bit what you said earlier. You mentioned that women, they do have this thought that there are no good men out there. And I get it, I understand, especially going through, relationships where it's pretty much like the same process is being repeated, right? So in that, there are good men out there, but the thing is, stop looking. Stop looking for a man. Turn your light on. There's nothing that turns a man on more than a woman who knows what she wants, that feels herself, that knows that she is the life of the party.
Excuse me, audience, listen, listen, listen.
She
Go ahead.
knows she's the life of the party, even if it's just a party of one. When she walks in, she knows who she is. She knows what she wants. She knows what drives her. You know what I'm saying? So, in doing so, that's a heated session in itself when it comes to a man being present. One thing that I'm gonna share about my wife and I is the biggest part is how she's able to make up her own mind for it. It may not be over something to eat or a burger, whatever. But the thing is, she knows what she wants spiritually. She knows the type of man she wants. She knows how she wants to be fed. You feel me? So in doing so, that leaves me in the space to be like, okay, let me introduce what I have. I like to put in that work. A lot of, I can't speak for every man, but we like to dive in and just experience this thing with you. So when it comes to us working together, think of the movie Pacific Rim, if I said that right. It's where two people, they come in agreement, they come in alignment to operate this giant machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we look at our relationship, because when we're both in sync, we can take on any monster, we can take on any giant. You know what I'm saying? So in doing so, me coming into my relationship, there was so much divine masculine, energy present, little to none with divine feminine. And like what Darwin was saying, as a child, and what some women don't know is that, like, us as children, the boys, mom is like our first love. That's God right there.
That's God.
And I've went through things where, I would hug my mother. And at one point, my mom was like, that was fake. She looked at me and told me my love was fake. My hug was fake. So you don't know, like, the damage that would do. You see what I'm saying? So going through, stuff like that, from your own mom, it gave me the mindset of thinking, if my own mom would say and do something like this, what is it that any other woman can actually give me? That's God right there to me. That's my God. That's my angel. That's the being that's gonna always come rescue me. Now I'm not saying that to put my mom on blast, but I'm letting you know that it did affect me, and it was major. It was weight over me for a long time. And I felt as if, once I got into a relationship, I felt like women were nothing but a hole in my pocket. They're just decoration between the sheets. But when I got with my wife, she brought forth a whole new deal for me. That was the apple. That was the light. That was the change. That was the one. And at that time, I was ready to give up. But she brought so much divine feminine energy to the relationship. It helped me to see. It helped me to better understand. And the first thing she gave me all kind of objectives and tasks. So I'm like, wow, is this an interview? Is this an application process for me? This was just something that I had to dig within myself to find. That put me to work. Man, operating as divine masculine energy, just this patriarch deal. I had to dig within myself. I had to put in the action to find this for myself. There was no forcing, there was no pushing, there was no pressing. But the words that she laid to me left me in deep thought. And now, if anything, a woman can leave you sitting thinking really hard. And it put me in a position to want to know more about, her likes, her wants, her needs, and not only for her, but just, for our relationship, for our children. And it also put me in a position to know more about the divine feminine and learning it for myself. And I understood, like, there are some things that I've never, like, really, committed myself to doing, because I didn't want to be looked at as a punk, or told that I was whining, I was being a sissy. And I got to the point where I would never really express myself. I wouldn't speak up when something is wrong. I just felt as if everybody happy, cool. Other than that, just leave me the hell alone. But she showed me a different way with this. And now I'm the type of brother, like I tell a guy, quick, yo, go get your toes done. Let's go to the massage parlor. We can go chill. Let's go do this. That's part of our self-care. That's part of that self-love, because when I begin to treat myself, in doing stuff like that, it actually feels good. And it helps me vibe, a lot higher. I sit with my daughters and paint their toenails. That's just me. I like it. It feels good. You know what I'm saying? And I also want to show my babies, that they can embrace this thing too. So yeah, fellas, go get some pedicures and some manicures done. Trust me, you'll like it.
Wow.
Reuben,
Yes, ma'am.
quick question, Reuben.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, when you got together with your wife, did she tell you that she prayed for you, your specifications, or did you pray for her and what she brings to the table? How did that work out?
You really want to know about that? Can I
Did you
just be
put the
me?
request in?
Can I be me?
Go
Yeah,
for
I
it,
did
dude.
put in a
Okay.
request. Here
Go
we
for
go.
it.
All right, here we go.
All right. All right.
All right, this is what I did. So there was a point in time where I was ready to give up, leave the whole thing alone. My sister,
Uh-huh.
now this is my sister, not my brother, my sister. She hit me up and she said, "Do you ever want to get married?" And I'm looking like, "Why are you calling me, telling me this?" She's like, "Do you ever want to get married?" I said, "Yeah, I would love to get married." She told me that I had to get over my past, not knowing that was self work. That this could, that this involves some shadow work. I didn't know anything about that, but that's what she told me. So I said, "Okay, cool." So then I'm just like, "Look, I want a woman that's going to be there for me, help me grow, help me evolve." I mean, she loved me so much that if I just look in another direction, she'll be ready to kill me because she think I'm looking at somebody. That was how serious I was about receiving love. That was it. That's just how bad I wanted it. I was not the type of cat, running around in the streets, laying with everything that walked. I just wanted that love. So when we got together, I told her when I was little, didn't even know that I was really speaking it into existence, but this was elementary. I was taking a walk, getting ready to go to class. Recess was over. There were three guys that was talking about what woman that they were going to marry. So one of the guys saw me and he laughed and he said, "Reuben, let me ask you a question." So I said, "What's up?" He was like, "Which girl you going to marry?" And I pointed. I said, "I'm going to marry her." And then they started laughing. They was like, "He said he gonna marry Sonya." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna marry Sonya. That's gonna be my wife one day,
That's his
and we
wife.
gonna have kids. We gonna have kids too." Who would have thought? 12, 13, how many other years later? I'm married to this woman going on 14 years, 4 beautiful children.
So you forecasted it technically, right?
Basically, I told the universe what I wanted, and I got it.
And it repositioned itself and you got her. Did
Exactly.
her specifications of her request for you, did it match up? Did she put a request in for you?
Did she put in a request for me? Well, I'll
Yeah.
let her tell her side of what her request was. But from what I got, she was questionable
Mm-hmm.
about what happened to me, if I would ever come back. She told me she had her little thoughts back and forth when I just, suddenly disappeared. And she was like, if I could ever go back, in time, I would tell my
Mm-hmm.
younger self, go date him, go get. I said, no, you wouldn't, because there was a time and that was a period where women were into thugs. You wouldn't have wanted me because I was all about working, getting myself together, trying to find an apartment. I wouldn't have been what you were looking for. And she was like,
Uh-huh.
actually, I would have. So I'm like, okay, cool. Well, hey, you put in that. I guess that right there could be the request that she put in, because here I am.
Mm.
So
And this is so
Bam.
amazing because when I listened, and I love it when Vishu be shaking his head, and I'll be like, okay, so it's amazing that, well, one, we can request what we want, but I think I love about step back, stop seeking men out, just be
mm-hmm,
yourself
Mm-hmm.
and let
Mm-hmm.
what happens happen.
right.
Um, um, what do you say, Darwin, and then you, Vishu, about something Reuben said about women? I don't know if you said women like to be fed. Is that what you said? Women like, because I put likes to be fed. I was thinking you said women like
Mm-hmm,
to be fed. And I want
mm-hmm.
to see what y'all's interpretation of that is. Darwin, you could go.
I guess from my understanding of what he was saying is that women like to be fed uh, and I guess stimulated mentally, spiritually, uh, and then as far as like also not having to ask a man to do something for him to intuitively know what she is needing and providing that for her. Um, the most, I guess, something that one of my teachers has taught me or has promoted is like a woman being in a cocoon period, where basically the man is providing everything that she needs, and she doesn't even have to lift a finger. So she has a period in time, maybe 3 to 6 months, where she can just focus on back in her feminine archetypes, and then that allows her to not have stress from the outside world on her. Um, and then, if possible, after that 6 months or 8 months or whatever, um, that role can be reversed. So that's that feeding process. So allowing someone to blossom, um, and, like I said, feed into them so that they can be better. That was my interpretation.
Okay. So I have a cool. Okay, so I have and I want Bianca, y'all can jump in, but I do have a question that I want to come back to around this topic. Vishu, what would you say the feeding process is? In the sense the way that Reuben talked about it, and you may have a different perspective, but how you because it makes sense, but at the same time, I'm just kind of getting all the men's perspective on this.
I'm not sure I understand what's being said. Women like to be fed. Uh, I think Darwin pretty much summed it up, but they like, for me, I say women like to be fed nurturing. They like to be taken care of. They like to be listened to. They like to be understood. They like to be treated like the beautiful human beings that they are.
Okay, so then so what I hear you all saying is feeding them beautiful energetic energy. It could
Hmm.
be words, it could be
Hmm.
an action, it could be different things. What I do want to ask though is, and I like how Darwin put it, but he's, in the sense that he said, we were taught that you start with that maybe you give women a certain amount of time. That though, I want to just kind of ask a little bit more because, or two things. Sometimes I think I've seen in the past in relationships that, or let me ask this a different way. Men, do you think it's unfair for women not to ask what they want and expect you to know?
So
I
are
mean,
you
there's
saying
an
like
intuitive part. There's
to
an
expect us
intuitive
to just
part.
figure
There's
it
an
out
intuitive.
for them?
Right, because I'm just saying there's an intuitive part that we kind of tap into and whatever. But I think the way a relationship starts, I think it causes problems if I just think you should just know what I want. Or what I think that, so maybe Darwin, you can explain that a little bit more because I think that could cause a problem.
Well, yes, it might be unfair if there hasn't been prior communication on those things that she desires. Now, when I was talking about like doing something for them without them having to ask, is because you've already had that conversation prior,
Hmm.
knowing those things that she likes and those things that she don't like. Because all women may not like roses.
Yes.
They might like lilies. So you going out and buying roses is going to be the bad thing. So it's about upfront having those conversations, honest conversations, so that in those times when your energy is maybe low and you don't want to verbalize anything, you can intuitively pick up those type of healing things that will bring them into a better space, knowing those type of foods to feed them. knowing what type of fruits they like, those type of things. The colors that they like to be, they like to wear. I love buying clothes to complement, so they, their energies. So those type of things, you want to make sure that in advance. And it goes both ways. Men have to open their throat chakras and ask for what they want, and speak to what they desire without being embarrassed, or without feeling ashamed, so we can um, receive as well, because have a hard time receiving.
Yes, thank
Okay, I
you.
have a question too. I can't remember who said it, but I wrote it down. But I feel like with it seems to be challenging for a Black man to tap into their divine feminine energy sometimes, because honestly there's a very sometimes still, even with all of the LG2BQ, and I might get all that wrong, sorry, I don't mean that intention, it's just that I think there's still a very homophobic energy in the Black community if Black men allow, if they are appeared a certain way. So it's like, okay, how do we shift past that, and just let them know that it is okay. I think that the work that each of you are doing is amazing. But how do we, like, I know, Darwin, you have the retreats for men to help them to really learn how to hold space. And I would assume, but you can let me know, that there's also there's time in those retreats to help them to tap into their divine feminine, and not feel that this makes them something that they're not, because this is how they grew up. They grew up saying, oh, you're a sissy if you do this, or so how do we really tap into that, or help shift that within our community, so that more of our men are okay with operating in that feminine energy, like nurturing energy, Darwin, which is what I heard. I think you may not use that word, but when you said buying this or doing this, to me that's a very nurturing energy. So how do we how do we get how do we work to get there? Like, what are some other things, that we could do?
I definitely think it begins with um, us really taking charge from our children from a younger age. I believe Reuben and Sonia, they homeschool their children, and I think that's one of the first steps to getting to that point where they're not, um, all set in specific, stereotypical things as far as masculine and feminine, because you can feed into the children um, uh, those things that we know are going to best suit them. And then when they come of age, 13 to 14, we have to have those rites of passage programs to to pull them through. So as they come 13 to 17, they're gonna have those tools under their tool belt to be able to be um, good partners and good producers as a community. Um, so I think that is the key. Um, I know when I came into learning more about spirituality, um, just learning, about a lot of like Kalima and Oya and Oshun, those type of energies, really supported me along my journey. Um, you know, and the energies, about Allah, and those other masculine energies, but being able to, I guess, really have reverence for the divine feminine, and being able to really um, see the good in having that knowledge of their purpose is really important. So like I said, we just have to we have to come together as a community to really to take charge of our children from a young age.
Issue, do you want to speak on that?
I agree with him. I do a men's circle here in Egypt, and this is a whole different kind of party over here. But it seems that it's so male dominated here until these guys don't even really want to come together, even to discuss uh, bringing up the divine feminine or tapping into it or anything like that. But still, I try.
Hmm.
So it is very important that we reach out to the young, to the children, to the younger brothers, and to all the brothers, and let them know that it's okay. It's okay to be loving, caring, and nurturing. It's okay to tap into your divine feminine. But it's also important that you connect to the wild man in you too.
Yes.
Because the wild man is the one that really get things done. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he really gets things done. So once again, it goes back to what the brother said earlier. It's a balance within yourself, and he was talking on the feminine, and he said the masculine as well. But it's a balance within yourself too. To
Okay, I have.
balance. Go ahead.
I was just saying that just sparked a question with me. Um, do you all think that sometimes the lack of respect for women is simply because the men, that man or that masculine energy, they don't that lack of respect is because they've not tapped into their divine feminine. When we think about what's going on with the world, and oh, women, can't have abortions, and I've seen some really harsh comments on social media about women who don't breastfeed because of this quote unquote shortage of milk, and it's so basically it's like, to me it feel like an attack on feminine energy, or on women in certain aspects. And do you think that's because men are not, as a whole, or men as a whole, are not tapped into their feminine energy, and this is what comes up in society as as a result?
Mm. So I want to add. Well, I want to kind of play devil's advocate. Then they can answer the question, because I think, um, well, first of all, there's this thing that I don't think that there's not enough probably men that's tapped into their feminine. Well, I don't want to say, because the same. I think that we don't. It's kind of like you're starting this movement. You haven't seen them all, but
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's men out there. One, um, I also think that one of the things when I did a program on, at this point it was on sexual abuse in our boys, but when men started to talk up, those who wanted, because we act like sometimes it's all on them. Those men who try to talk to their women, to their spouses, to their girlfriends about things and tapping it. And I didn't see it as tapping into the feminine back then, but it really is when they can get soft enough to tap, and then they call punks, sissies, bitches, stop acting like this. Well, all their hurt and pain, they just learn to stuff it right back down. So I think that there's a combination of, we want this to happen, but we also have to make a safe space for them. And I think it's
Mm-hmm.
also, when we think about that in the masculine and the feminine, that our own masculine energy, like when we really become, so when we're softening ourselves, we make space for our own masculine to rise up. Some of us women are just too soft, not like too soft in the sense that, like, Vishu talked about the masculine over there. You can, that some of their wild needs to come out. Some of the wild in the women need to come out. I'm talking
Yeah.
about in ourselves, towards ourselves. I'm talking about right now, strictly the balance between myself. I need a little bit more wild. I'm one of them that probably just need a little bit, need to just, like, I've been afraid of my masculine in myself. Like growing up, I saw what at one point it was like, and there was so much that had happened, but it had created something in me that if you came too hard, I was just gonna let you have it, to the point that I think I was in kindergarten. I jumped on my kindergarten teacher because my cousin and I was in the same class, and she whipped him. And now for me, that was a no-no. I had experienced a lot, and as I grew up, um, there was I was afraid of my masculine, because my masculine, I thought, because here's what I was experiencing a lot of rage. So I shut it all down, thinking and if you shut your emotions down, so really in that instance, it probably was more my feminine, but I still never really gravitated, learn to be connected with my emotions, both of them. And that's what I'm trying to say, that there's a space in all of us that we need to just make sure if the wild is what we need or whatever, and let it be a balance. And then outside of us, when you talk about this big whole realm of men or women, um, I think when we talk about the women and the men, and specifically the men, we need to make a safe space for them. I'm sorry. We talk about they want to share, they want to be this and that, and then we look at them and we tell them, stop acting like pussy, stop this, stop that, because I don't know if they terrify in us, because their emotions in they terrify by letting us feel their emotions or whatever. But I just see that there's a lot of healing that needs to be done in this. So anybody can answer Bianca's question. I just felt like that um it's not really true that there's not a lot of men out there.
Oh,
um
that's not what I was saying. I
well,
think
yeah, but I mean,
that no, that's not what that's not
well,
what I was
no.
saying.
When you
I
made
mean,
a statement about out there, you like, was there a whole lot? You asked
no,
about men out there in their divine feminine, and I like, I just want to make it clear that I
no,
really
that's
feel like there's a lot of men out there, whether we see them or not, that's doing this work.
oh yeah, that's not what I was saying. I'm saying the like where we are in the world with powers to be passing down legislation and doing these things. If is it possibly that for me it's is it because are they doing these things trying to regulate women's bodies? Probably because they're not intact with their own divine feminine. That's kind of that's the question. It's not that I don't
Okay, because you
believe.
wasn't clear on the
Right, right.
question. You
That's
just
not
kind
it.
of threw it out there. So
Right.
yeah,
It's not
now it's
that's
clear.
yeah, it's not that I don't believe that there are many men doing the work, but as a whole, when we look at what's coming down from legislation about what women are allowed to do, and like I said, I've seen, quote unquote, this shortage on breast milk, and then some of the comments I've heard about women, to me, it just is like, wow, we can't win for losing sometimes. So, and it's like, and is it all of are these type of things happening because possibly those that are making these decisions, they're not tapped into their feminine energy to give us that nurturing. So that's more of the question. So I apologize if I wasn't clear. I was not saying that there wasn't like folks
Yeah,
doing
you
work.
weren't clear, but
I
thank you.
appreciate all that's doing work, because I wouldn't be on this call if Jay English didn't do his work. So I love y'all.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear because it wasn't clear, but now we know. And anybody want to, answer, jump in, gentlemen, and tell whether you feel like the women are under attack.
People like to control what they fear, and I'm gonna leave that right there.
You
That's
spoke. You spoke enough.
You said enough. That is, you
That's
said enough.
it's all about control. I was singing Janet Jackson in my head as you were talking. But I was like, it's all about control. It's control, and it's been. This is nothing new. It's just a continuation of the same old line of bullshit. It's the same thing. It's just a different day, but it's all about control. Yeah.
and
Sorry.
the and it's becoming, and the control, and you can see the fear is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, because more and more um more and more things coming up against the women. So the fear is becoming a lot stronger. So in terms of those who fear us, who fear our power, who fear, and what's so sad about this, I think on one hand, there's a lot of us is realizing who we are, what we are, and why we're here. But I also think, um, I don't want to say it's strange, but not enough of us are realizing it. And those who may be on the fence by the powers that be, or those who fear us as women, if they can, they'll try to knock us off our square now. And that's why we continue to do the work that we're doing, so that we can bring more women and help them through our lifestyle and through our understanding that is. And I appreciate the work that these men are doing, because I
Yes.
feel like, um, without you reflecting back to us, it would be hard for us to really, understand our role as the divine masculine. We would not really know what that looked like. Now, with that being said, I understand that that's, when it's done well, when it's done correctly, when it's truth, is really beneficial. But then we also have, on the other hand, men that identify, what being a man is so far off, that a lot of women are deeply wounded, because that's what they keep running into, or as I should say, honestly, that's what we keep choosing. That's what we keep vibrating at. I think everything is a vibration, and we're vibrating in a space where we just keep drawing these type of men, because we haven't learned our lessons. Um, so what I would like to ask, do you have any questions, Bianca? Because I want to.
Well, you just said something. You said that we haven't learned our lesson, and I think that we haven't learned ourselves. I think that's
Yes.
sometimes why we bump into the same thing. And then I can't remember who said it earlier, but I think it was you, Visha. You talked about, you hold space, but um, sometimes women, they're not trusting of you and your work. They may need a female first, and I think that's because we don't trust ourselves. And I think trust. So you and I probably talked about this offline before about trust. Like, when we trust ourselves and learn ourselves, then we definitely are in a different space to vibrate differently and get that type of that mirror back to us. But if we're still kind of we're not we're not really learning ourselves, we're not trusting ourselves, we're still vibrating at a different, or I hate to say lower, but it's a lower vibration. So we still get back what we say we don't want, because we've not done the work.
Yeah, makes sense. What brings us to women that say they don't like other women.
That was, I didn't used to say that, Tresa, but I used to be proud of the fact that I didn't have a bunch of female friends. And I had to sit and reflect and be sit with that, and like, why is that? Because I didn't trust myself. I didn't know enough about myself. Whereas now, like, I'm not one of those people that's like, no new friends. I'm like, okay, bring them on. Let's party. Let's do this thing. Let's heal. Let's grow. So and I think that sometimes when things have happened to us when we're younger, and sometimes the trauma may not be like severe, but sometimes it is. You've seen different things as far as relationship dynamics between different women, or for me it was the women on the block, sometimes the women in my family. I'm like, oh, I don't want to be like that, so I'm just gonna stay in my little cocoon and be by myself and hang out with the boys, and I'll be the tomboy of the block, although I like my girly stuff. So it's yeah, Tressa, that's we definitely have to, I think, as women, be open to having those, being with other women, and knowing that it's okay, and that it's not necessarily going to be catty and all that other crap that they try to stuff down on us.
Yes, and I brought that up because
Do
when
men
V,
ever have conversations like that?
yeah,
Do men ever have those thoughts as far as not being being I don't want to say catty, but being decisive with other men, with not actually allowing someone to show you their true colors and their face, and for you to acknowledge it? Do men become standoffish with other men? I'm unclear. Is that a thing? Because it's a thing with women. Is it a thing with men? Anyone can answer.
Men
Come
do
on,
that too.
come on now, don't leave me
Yeah.
hanging.
I'm
Yes,
gonna keep it I'm gonna keep it 100. Men do that too.
please do.
Yeah.
Men do
Really?
that too. But and they'll do it slick though.
Yeah.
You, you know, do it
Sis,
slick with
please
it.
tell me. Please
Yeah.
expand. Expand.
You know,
Are men catty with other
we'll
men?
be we'll be standoffish, but we'll be like high fiving and dabbing
Yep.
and when it
Fist
go off,
bumping.
yeah, yeah. You know, I don't really mess with him.
Yeah. Yep. Men will
You can
do
feel
that.
each
Shake
other's. You
your
can feel each other's
hand,
vibes.
I don't
You
really
shake
can
your
feel
mess
each
with
other.
hand,
him.
bump
Yeah.
shoulders, and you know damn well you don't like me.
Oh.
And might not even be sure why.
Oh.
You
You
understand?
can you feel
It's just
something? Can you feel something with somebody?
it's just something
You can
about
feel it. Yeah. You can
he
feel it. You
he.
can feel it most
And if you
definitely.
start talking vibes or whatever, and you
Mm-hmm.
know, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You will
and,
speak.
I don't get. I don't like. I don't feel
and,
it.
and,
Yeah.
and, and
Yeah.
I'm getting better though because I can look at it
Uh
like
huh.
this. Well, you know, I'm not trying to be in a conversation where they're talking lack or depression, always talking
Mm-hmm.
about something
Mm-hmm.
negative. I'm ducking that like the plague. You know,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
if we're not talking about blessings, healing, and prosperity, I'm in the wrong place.
Okay, okay.
You know, because I'm not trying to
Yeah.
feed my consciousness this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And when he roll up, every time you see him, he ain't never got nothing good going on.
That's it.
So of course we be standoffish with that too. And but I see other brothers sometimes who just what we call haters,
Hmm.
just straight up haters. So
Yeah. And I
and,
feel
and,
you on that one.
and then we'll turn around and please forgive me, ladies. But
Okay.
we'll turn around and be
Go
like,
for it.
he on some whole shit.
Yeah.
Whole word, the word whole goes both ways.
Yeah,
Everybody can be a
Yes,
hoe.
yes,
yeah.
No,
yes, yes, he
there's male
does.
whores too. Yes.
And and
Yes.
and
There's
and,
male
and
whores.
that's the jacket we will place on him.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
won't think
And you don't
twice
even
about it.
know him,
And
but it's
won't take it off.
Yeah.
So to
But like you
answer the
said though,
question, we will do it.
Okay. I have another question. So, and anybody or all of you guys can share, but um, kind of what led you to the path that you're on right now? Because I know
Thank
I
you.
don't know,
In my
right? I
head.
don't
That's what
think
I
that.
was thinking.
Okay, see, we was connected,
Yeah,
sis.
we right here. That's what I was
So
thinking. Come on
I
now.
don't think. Well, I might be wrong, but did you were you raised this way? So when you're not raised this way, and then you start coming into this new consciousness, and it's like, and you're got all these roadblocks, and you're trying to figure it out. So like, what was it like for each of you? Because I think for me, I feel it's like it's been slowly but surely, but it's just like like the new awareness. Sometimes it's just like, what in the when it first happened, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna be even weirder than I am now, or seem to be to people. I'm telling you, I was like, dang, I like, okay. Because once you can't unknow what you know.
right.
So what was it like? What was your I guess this word is so overused. I almost don't want to use. What was your awakening like? What was your coming into who you are right now? What was that like for you?
Well, first
Or
and
how did it
foremost,
happen?
my curiosity is above the roof. Like when I hear about something new
uh-huh.
that I've never done before, and I feel like that's something
Mm-hmm.
that I really want to dabble into, like I'm gonna look into it
Uh-huh.
because my curiosity is like somebody sitting behind me constantly tapping on my shoulder. Go look, go look, go look, go look. So, and one thing that was like that I held on to that I was not going to hell for anybody. So it was like a
Mm-hmm.
slow, process for me. because that was one thing that I lived by. I did not want to go to hell for anybody. But it was a conversation that, my wife and I had, and she was already, on her way with, with her spiritual journey. And she explained to me certain things, that happened, in church, and, she, from, her perspective on how she dealt with it. And that was something that really grabbed my attention, because I was always asking myself, those types of questions. Even as a pastor, deacon, or whatever, I would ask myself these questions. And a lot of times I would end up like at a dead end. None of it made sense as far as, finding the logic behind it. So we had a deep conversation, because I thought this was going to be the end of our relationship. And she told me, she said, "Baby, I love you. I love our children. I wouldn't do anything to put you in harm's way, but you need to know this for yourself." And the first thing that came to me is like, practice what you preach, study to show thyself. Like, scriptures was just like hitting me, but it was making sense as to what my wife was saying. It was making sense to what she was saying. And it's like, when that was hitting me, it's like, and that's like a language that you have to speak to Christians when you're in the awakening circle and you're trying to talk to them. You have to talk to them in that language. So when she was spitting, those scriptures were coming to my head. I'm like, yeah, you right. All right, damn, let me look into it. So I said, okay, cool. I'm gonna know it for myself. I'm gonna study this stuff for myself, see what's up. So the very first book that I picked up, it had a skull on the front of it. Didn't know anything about it, but I'm just like, if I'm gonna do this, I just want truth. That was my intention. I want truth. So I picked the book up and I opened it. Like, the first 3 pages talked about nothing but herbs and healing sickness, healing body aches, healing pain. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Like, why would they put this on the front of this? Then it hit me again, never judge a book by its cover. So I'm like, okay, that's another alley right there. So I said, okay, cool. So I'm gonna keep reading. And then next thing you know, add honey, do this, add some lavender. I'm like, what is lavender? Let me go lavender. Oh, properties of lavender. That's why I like lavender. So one thing led to the next, and my curiosity was just but a roof. So every book that I was looking, I picked it up. If it was somebody with a head hanging halfway off, I want to read it. If it was somebody with 4 or 5 horns on the head, I want to read it. Because when I looked at that first book of the skull, scared, I was nervous, I didn't know what to expect, but after reading it, I'm just like, wait, hold up. So we have been conditioned to believe, like, really put a major, like, blockage on a lot of things that we probably would have known and operated a long time ago.
Yes, indeed. Now I want to know what that book was. What's that book?
I gotta find it. We still have it somewhere around here. This was what, 3-4 years ago when we first started, because we were talking about an apprenticeship that we were getting into, and she was explaining everything to me, and I was not on board with it. But that conversation put me in the position. She didn't force me. She didn't ask me. It put me in the position to want to know for myself. So that's when I had to make a move.
Wow.
And I told, go ahead.
Yeah, I love what you said. Like, she it sounds like to me like there was some operating in her masculinity. She's like, oh no, I'm doing this. I want you to know I'm not gonna do anything that would hurt you. I love you. But she's like, I'm doing this. And you had to make up your mind about almost like trusting her.
Like drawing her on the back.
And that's when I had
supporting her, that cocoon at 3 to 6 months.
Right there. So I had to be receptive of what she was saying. However, how I choose to move after that was my decision. But I can't knock her. I can't throw punches at her for something that I don't know. All I know is that I was scared. I was nervous. And a lot of times, what we don't understand, when we fear something, we tend to just act out. So it becomes a fight or flight type of deal for us. So I told myself, I can't be. And then, like I said, being a pastor back in the day, there was no running from what was true. And that was one thing that I couldn't turn my back on. If it's true, if it's what it is, that's just what it is. But how will I know if it's true if I never took the time to look into it? And another thing that hit me was like, if the devil laid a book on the table and showed you his plan, would you read it?
Like, hey, I want to know.
Well, mostly they say you can find everything in the book, but people don't read. It's very few people.
That's so true. That's how they can get you. That's true.
that's self-disciplined enough to say, to let me figure this out. And this is very impactful because, like you said, you came from, we're going to find out from the other brothers, but you came from a relationship with your mother, which I want to interject really quick and then bring it up to what you're talking about. You came from a relationship with your mother, who you kind of said like was really your first God. And then somehow she saw you as a disappointment, but you still ended up in some form of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And then your pathway to spirituality started coming through the experiences. So,
Yeah.
wow, that's really interesting. It's deep. I'm
Yeah.
sure
And
there's a lot of things that you didn't say, but it's still a deep path.
yeah, because one thing I do want to add, and is, and I'll let let the other brothers talk, is that every on this path, there was always a woman in place that took on and carried me, whether it be my mom to my stepmother to church, and then into mysticism, marriage, even at times where let me see. During my teenage years, I actually took on a mentor. That was my very first mentor. It was called the Reach Program in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She took me in, total stranger, but she loved and cared, and she helped me to get through high school, with everything that I was dealing with. So every level that I've, took on in my life, there was a different woman present that took me in and helped me to grow. So everything that I walked away with, I walked away with something. So gratitude for it all. I'm not going to badmouth any of them, but I walked away with something that they left me that I can carry on. I learned something in the process. Gems were dropped everywhere.
Like a teacher,
So
like a
yeah.
teacher, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I
What's that
didn't have a
old
lot of
adage?
male figures.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Darwin,
Yep.
Visha, whichever one wants to go next, tell us how you got on this path.
Yeah. For me, it was a really it came to a point where I just felt where my spirituality that I was in at the time, it just felt dead to me. And I think because my mother named me Darwin, and it was kind of like um, she kind of foresaw in the future that I was going to be some type of scientist, or I've always been, like Reuben said, very curious, and I need to know
The
the answer.
evolutionist.
Yeah, I need to know the answer. So she raised me in the Roman Catholic Church. I went to Roman Catholic high school, middle school. Um, but when I went to college, um, I had an experience and gave my life to the Lord, under the Baptist church. And for about 5 years, I I tried to I tried to I guess be in that particular spiritual tradition. And at at one point, I went to a service, and I guess I was just very aware of what was going on. I was aware that someone was actually um, interviewing me before I went into the chapel, and that information was being relayed to the preacher, who later in the service was prophesying that they knew what I needed. So me being aware of that, I I saw the falsity in that, and that made me turn my head. Um, and then I guess the last and final thing that kind of broke um, the camel's back was I went to another, I guess, revival type service, and as people were speaking in tongues, it it felt really uh, not real to me. And it after that experience, it just really encouraged me that to find that there was going to be something else out there. And me always really being interested in Egypt and interested in Africa, and living in DC at the time, and there was a lot of things available to me, Georgia Avenue down at Howard University, and learning about holistic type things, even getting to meet Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Those are the things that prompted me to start this spiritual journey, and I've never turned back. And I'm glad that I've been able to, through the years, make different steps to help myself and help others along the way. And even though close family members may along the way may not have been as supportive, it was very important for me to follow what felt good for my soul, and to still push on. And I think that's very important lesson for a lot of people out there who might be scared to step out there because of what other people think. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Vishu?
For as long as I can remember, I rejected that whole biblical thing. And we forced to go to church as children. I could never be still. I could never do it. It felt like a lie to me forever. You know what I mean? And then, but I still wasn't trying to strive to get into anything else. I just wasn't into that. And so as you grow up and you're still rejecting it, and right now my sister is a pastor. My brother is one of those ministers that'll stop and start running it down anywhere. And my dad is a Bible toter. That means he sits on the couch and reads the Bible and waits for you to come by so he can tell you where you're wrong. So, and I hit a dark place in my life and I started looking for something else to do. It still wasn't about being biblical, but it was about manipulation. But somewhere along the journey, I lost the will to manipulate, and I actually wanted to help. I actually wanted to help because I had done so much delving in the past. Not trying to make up, just trying to keep moving forward. But still, I always knew there was something else to the whole energy work, to the whole spiritual thing. And for some reason, I went back to scripture. Not because I wanted religion, but the scriptures. I'll be honest with y'all. For me, the Bible was a cold-blooded spell book. If you knew how to,
say it again.
If you knew how to decipher.
We shaking our head. Yes, we all.
If you know how to decipher it, and so I started learning how to speak.
Yes.
And I learned that the scriptures that I was most attracted to were scriptures that they never really talk about. Like, these things I do, you will do in greater.
Yes.
How do I do that? That's what I need to know. There's power in the word. In the beginning was the word.
Yeah.
Damn, I need to learn how to speak. These things started to come to me, and to learn how to use them properly. Because the things that I'm reading that Jesus did was just fabulous. If I can do greater, I need to know how. I want to know how. I want to know how to help people. And and I will keep it 100 with you until the very end. I'm transparent. When I first jumped in the game, it was about manipulation because I had to be in a dark place, and I didn't think I should have been there. And I was mad. I was mad, and I wanted to figure out a way, but it all backfired on me, and I wound up loving, caring, and nurturing, and really wanting to help people. And that's when I started to really dig and travel to wherever I could to find things in different cultures and compare these things, only to find out that it's really the same thing.
Yes.
It's really the same thing, just in a different language. And some people are just a little bit deeper than others. You know, when we start going into different energies and how to use them and being still and knowing that you God. I don't, did you hear me?
Yes.
I did.
I heard you.
And
Yes.
know
Amen.
that you are God.
Yes.
Now, when you start hearing stuff like that, if that doesn't kind of ring a bell for you and make you want to get interested, instead of just looking around for God, now you really know where to look. And then they say the kingdom of heaven is within you. If God is in the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of heaven is within me, I better check that out.
Yes.
I probably ought to be quiet and listen.
No.
No, you should. No, we
No,
with
because
you. We with you.
you're all in the you're in the right space. Because
No,
Yes.
no, no. What I'm saying is, in order to hear God inside of me in the
Have
kingdom,
to be
I
quiet.
had
Oh,
I had to be quiet.
okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had to be quiet in order to hear. And then I needed to do a demonstration to make me sure that I'm a creator too. I'm made in the image of my creator. So shall he create, so shall you. Or I always say it because I think it's without gender. But
Right.
that's a whole nother flow.
Yeah.
So I started to tap into it. I started to learn more. It felt good. It proved to be valid. And so I just took off with it, went and got as much from every culture as I could make contact with, sit down with grandmasters who could do things you probably wouldn't believe, and learn more and more and more. And I'm still hungry, just like when I sat down and learned Reiki. I'm still just as hungry. I'm still just as hungry, still reaching, because it's still so much more, and I still don't know how to get back to the mind of a child. I'm practicing that really hard because the imagination of a child
Yes.
is infinite.
Unlimited.
When
Unlimited.
when you
Yes. Yes.
when you can get back to that, so will you do some really, really amazing things. If you can hold it, if you can see it long enough, like a child, you can hold it and you can put prana into it, you can
Mm.
almost you can almost make it appear right then and there. You can make other people see things when you can manipulate akasa and feed it with prana. So these are the things that excited me, made me want to do more, made me want to share with people who are really interested and who may be ready. But I don't force nothing on anybody. I only work on people who I'm supposed to. I don't market. Every once in a while I post on Facebook and say, hi, I'm still here. But that's it.
So,
And I'm just continuing learning. And that's how I got on this path, was through making a lot of mistakes.
Mm.
And it put me on the right path because I'm comfortable here. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be.
Gratitude. Yes.
Yeah, this is so beautiful. Oh my
Yes.
God. So if either one, each one of you will get a chance to speak, what is it would you like to leave our audience with, and tell them also where they can find you? Anybody?
Discover your divine design of life and follow. Once again, it's health, wealth, love, and the perfect self expression. Strive for those things and follow your intuitive mind instead of your monkey mind. Follow your higher consciousness. Your subconscious mind, your subconscious mind has a choice. It can be programmed by your monkey mind, your conscious mind, or it can be programmed by your superconscious. Either way, your subconscious is just power, and it doesn't know what to do until it receives information from one of those minds, from one of those places. Now, you really want to program it from your superconscious, which means you got to shut up and listen and feel more than you think. Thinking is beautiful, and the mind, I don't knock it. It's a wonderful tool, but it's just a tool. It has to be made to respect the woman or the man behind the mind. Left unattended is dangerous. God bless you, and thanks for coming out.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Darwin or Reuben, what would you like to say to your audience? And also, what word would you, and then you can tell them where you can be reached. Visha, did you want to say where you can be reached?
There's some kind of distortion going on. Could you say that again?
Would you
Yeah, I
like to
hear it.
say where you can be reached? How can we find you? How can anybody find you?
Right now you can't.
Okay.
Unless you come to Dahab. But I have a beautiful announcement that's coming soon. So people in the States, just wait for it. I'll let you know.
All right. Ooh, I'm just so grateful to the universe, divine mind, spirit, whatever led me to you, you to me. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yes,
Everyone should mute if we're not speaking. Maybe that'll get rid of the background. So mute if you're not speaking.
let's see. Okay, so Darwin or Reuben, who wants to go next?
All right, I'll go next.
Okay.
All right, I want to share. I just want to say, be the spark to your own flame.
Yes.
All right. That greatness is within you. I believe that everybody has that greatness within self. Tap in, you do the work, you start with self, with everything there is to come. Start with self, and you'll find what needs to come out. You will develop what needs to be brought forth. Be the spark to your own flame. Mastermind, be in control of your mind. Don't let your mind be in control of you. You guys can find me on Facebook, Reuben Shed. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Keys to Ascension 333. Website keystoascension.com.
Red Nova.
That's graphics.
Oh, okay. Well, they might want something. You might as well tell them.
Okay, Red Nova Graphics on Facebook as well.
And Apothecary.
Little Blue Apothecary.
Yes. Where can they find that?
shoplittleblue.com, and we also have a group page, both group pages, Keys to Ascension and Little Blue Apothecary.
Okay, thank you. Don't be
And
shy.
if you guys want to dabble more into, relationships, we like to have fun over at Mystic Love Lounge.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Reuben and
You're welcome.
Darwin.
Yeah, I would like to leave with um, it's so important to understand that it's never it's never too late to start over. It's never too late to empty your cup, clean your cup, and refill your cup with what you want for yourself.
Yes.
So take the time for yourself because you are that important. You are that important enough to to 10 minutes a day just sitting down being quiet. You're important enough to to put pen to paper and write your desires out. Write what you're grateful for. Take those little steps to get to where you need to go. And spirit will speak to you. So and you can be very prosperous in this life. And as far as the divine masculine and divine feminine, we are supposed to be here for each other. It's not a combat. It's not a war. We are supposed to be here to support each other, and that's what everyone here on this panel today is working towards. You can reach me on IG at Prosperity Today, and I'm really grateful for everyone that's on here today. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Darwin. All right, ladies, you tell them where you can be found?
I'll go. First, I just want to say deep gratitude for each of you, and definitely for you, Tressa, and for you, Gail, as well. I'm so glad I made this call today. And just real quick, I think Visha, you said something about it, but about monkey mind. I used to have this saying that I would post all the time. I'm pimping my monkey today, and I remember someone asking me what that mean. I said I need to get myself in check and stop being all over the place with my thoughts. So yes, I thank you each of you for your gems. And on Facebook, everybody, you can find me at Bianca McAtee on Facebook, and on Instagram, it is fabulous.by.intention. And my website is www.fabulousbyintention.com. I love you guys. Today has been great. Thank you.
Okay, Gail.
For me, Gale, you can find me on Facebook, but if you desire to know anything about me, you can go to my website. My author's name is Camille St. Charles, Mississippi.com. And from the website, it'll just send you wherever you'd like to go and whatever you'd like to discuss. This this podcast has been monumental. Thank you guys. Darwin, Big Boys Don't Cry. I love that. I love that. V, because I'm going to have difficulty pronouncing your name, so I'm just going to call you Mr. V. Mr. V, I love power in the word. And you did not backfire. That was hit the nail on the head. And Reuben, I love when you said speaking life into yourself because sometimes we are our own worst critic and we have to offer our word of encouragement to ourselves. I love that. Thank you guys so much for giving us just a slice of your time and holding a space open for us.
Wow.
I'm
So,
good.
okay, thank you, Gail. Thank you, Gail and Bianca, for sharing this space with me again today. I want to thank all the gentlemen that showed up. My heart is full. Tears are feeling like they want to roll. I'm just grateful for what you all brought to all of us to help us within ourselves and as a collective. And thank you again for all of you saying yes because you could have said no. So I appreciate that. Now you can find me. My name is Tresa. You can find me on Facebook under Tresa. You can find my Facebook group, Transformative Conversations and Solutions on Facebook. You also can find my website at Transformative Conversations and Solutions.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Uniquely Brilliant 2 TWO. And I just want to say thank you again for coming out. Everyone have a magnificent time. Oh, and let me just okay, I'm gonna drop this plug in. There is a retreat coming in October called So Essentially Empowered Weekend. What we're doing is getting a movement together to create essentially empowered women. So you can go on my Facebook page and find out anything about it. It is gonna be a blast. With that, everyone, thank you and have a magnificent day.
Gratitude.
Audience, thank you. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, yes.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
They wanna tell us that they made us, stripped away our culture and enslaved us. We survived through the worst time, and they did their best to break us. We played a game, but the game rigged. Now we woke and got our own shit. Everything was all good when we was worthless. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. I got a God complex. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. It was all good when we was worthless. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. A born deity, swag of a king, extension of the most high, getting this bag for the team. Hover above all, they want me to have humility. Them same folks out here trying to suppress my ability. Spit divine words that manifest in the physical. So when I say I have money, homie, it be spiritual. Get it in this lifetime and shine in the next one. Never let nobody make you feel guilty about your blessing. Yes, I got a God complex. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. It was all good when we was worthless. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. I got a God complex. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. It was all good when we was worthless. Now they mad cause I got a God complex.
See, I am the eternal son walking the earth. Not a man, but I am that God that gave him birth. See, my womb is the gateway I bleed. Every month for Ashe, I'll be damned if you tell me what I am worth. Supreme being is mother, oracle and seers. Time to go to the ego and ask the spirits and leaders. Medicine woman, our world is really sick and need healing. So now we welcome the divine in our spirit. Ashe.
I got a God complex. Now they mad cause I got a God complex. It was all good when we was worthless. Now they mad cause I got a God complex.
Melanated, they make it so complicated, and now we separated cause they tell us we're minorities. But we the Haitians, Jamaicans, even some Latins and Asians, some Cubans and Mexicans, we are majority.
Yeah, they call us witches cause magic is what we conjuring. Took and turned our words into spells and now we under it. Some won't acknowledge our power to the apocalypse. Unleash it on the world and send them packing on rocket ships.
Yeah, heart of a lion, land of the dead and dying. My bag is about that garden, my swag about ancient knowledge and tapping into them. Message from a pendulum, ancestors saying that it's time for the world to see it.
See, they wanna be it. We got the sands of time. Our DNA filled with to medicate the mind. We demonstrate divine powers that can open portals. They fear us cause ye are gods amongst mere mortals. They wanna tell us that they made us, stripped away our culture and enslaved us. We survived through the worst time, and they did their best to break us. We played a game, but the game rigged. Now we walking